Hello, it's Trippin' with Whiskey here. Real quick, why I went with Trippin' with Whiskey. I do a lot of road tripping. I do a lot of backpack trips, hunting trips, day trips, and my dog at the time I started this chapter of my life was named Whiskey. And since then, I've acquired Bullet. Um, she is a 7-month-old Belgian Malinois and not Bullet like a gun, but Bullet Bourbon. Bullet Bourbon happens to be one of my favorites, and your girl likes her whiskey. So I just thought it fitting to be tripping with whiskey. So Bullet now accompanies me on almost all of my journeys. And this morning we went for a nice sunrise hike. Bullet, come here, come here, come here. Watch the sunrise. Bullet, Bullet, come here, come here. Good girl. This is Bullet. Like I said, she's 7 months old. All right, that's good. Sit. Why don't you lay down? And I have high hopes for her. She's incredibly smart, agile, athletic, and driven. And she wants to please. And I would be doing her and the world a disservice if I didn't push her to live up to her potential. My hopes is that I can train her for search and rescue, home protection, scent detection, maybe even some bite dog stuff, and possibly even some dog agility. Looking at doing some races with her. They have now expanded to obstacle course type races with dogs and their owners. So I'm looking at branching off into that and doing those with her. But anyway, I wanted to pop in here and talk about something that's really important to me, and that's emergency preparedness. And I'm going to discuss my go bags and maybe some things that I do in my household to prepare for emergencies. So I live in the Rocky Mountain region, and I am frequently out in the woods, sometimes and quite often by myself. And I hunt, all of the things, backpacking. But also, you just never know when you might need to have a bag that's ready, a bug out bag, or possibly it's a get home bag, an urban bug out bag. You'll want to consider your location and where you're going to flee to in the event of emergency. And you'll have to consider your personal needs as well. So if you're someone that requires medication to live, you need to have a plan in place for that as well, to be prepared for an extended amount of time with the medication that you're going to need to survive. With that being said, I do want to talk about go bags. This Christmas, I put together go bags for my kids. It was part of their Christmas presents. So now they have their own bags. I have my own bag. It looks like this. And I'm also working on putting together a secondary bag in the event that there's time that I can grab both. But I wanted to discuss what kinds of things I do have in my go bags. And I also wanted to ask the audience, what things you might consider putting in, and, not just necessities, but maybe some of those luxury type items that you would want to have, especially in an extended, situation. Those kinds of things are important to think about because morale is important. It's actually huge, and I have kids, so if I do have to bug out, I have to consider their mental health too. And so some things I have thought about for them is bringing a deck of cards and dice so that we can play games. And distraction is key, especially if the world around you is falling apart. If you can stay distracted at times, just for your own mental health, that's a benefit. So this is my bag. The bag itself, I love because it has all of these buckles on it, so I can strap things to it. I have these here, which I can strap things to, carabiners or Velcro. I can Velcro things to it. So the bag you use, you'd want to think about as well. If you can get a water resistant bag and something that's durable, that would be my recommendation. Check out Army surplus stores. You can often find a lot of cool stuff, not only the bags itself, but things that you can put in it. And I like to check out garage sales and thrift stores. You just never know what you might find. So, before we get into the bag, some other things I do for emergency preparedness. My vehicle is almost always equipped with emergency type gear. So I have a first aid kit. I've actually got two varieties of a first aid kit. One of my first aid kit actually has like a blood clot, for significant bleeding wounds. It's got a tourniquet. I have another one with a brace, gauze, all of that stuff. And then I have kind of a smaller one with medications, Benadryl, Band-Aids, just your simple first aid type gear. I also have a roadside emergency kit, and I believe it's got, reflective triangles and glow sticks and, things you might need to fix a vehicle. I have a toolkit, so it's small and it's not super fancy or super expensive, but in a pinch, it'd probably be sufficient. So it's got sockets and wrenches and pliers and hammer, measuring tape, Allen keys. I have Allen keys coming out my ears. Oftentimes my purse has Allen keys in it. I just always end up needing them for something. Screwdrivers, those kinds of things. So my bag itself. Oh, and then seasonally, you want to consider that too for your vehicle. So I live in the Rocky Mountain region. Even in the summertime, you may be confronted with cold weather. If it's raining, nighttime, Bullet and I did a hike this morning and it was 37 degrees, and it's the 1st of September. So those are some things to think about, your region, where you're going to go, and making sure that your vehicle is stocked with that. So, I often have sleeping bags in my car. I often have jackets and coats and hats, gloves, just kind of always stocked in there. Something too that frequently happens with me, I might be called on a rescue mission. My buddies up in the mountains, they had their ATV or they had their truck and they were, just out recreating, and their vehicle breaks down or they get stuck. Okay, so they give me a call, and I can go and help on that rescue mission. And I'm going to take my go bag, because what if my vehicle breaks down or my vehicle gets stuck? Then at least we have some things to keep us comfortable for the night. And often where we go, there's not service, or maybe our cell phone battery dies. So it is good to be prepared. And you just never know. You could be traveling and your car breaks down and you don't have cell reception. And especially if you live rurally, and you might not see anybody for a long time. And so you might need some supplies to get you somewhere to get help. So my go bag, inside of it. And I'm also, part of the reason I'm going through this today is I'm going to do a practice run with my bag, probably in a week or two. And I'm going to see how sufficient it is. And, you never really just know what kinds of things you want or don't want until you actually put it to use and try everything out. So that'll be part of the experiment. Maybe I find I don't want something, I don't like something, and I replace it with something else or get rid of it altogether. All right, so in my bag I have this blanket, and it actually is sewn to the stuff sack, so you'll never lose your stuff sack. So there's a blanket. I have a tarp. Waterproof tarp. I believe it's an OD green, so if I do need to blend into my surroundings, that would be perfect, especially for my region and my location. I have some base layers. Like I mentioned before, I live in the Rocky Mountain region, so more often than not, I'm faced with cold conditions. So I've got some merino wool base layers. Uh, and even in the summer, the nighttime gets cold. Bull and I did a hike this morning, September 1st. It was 37 degrees this morning. So having some high quality base layers would be important to me in my region. I have some dehydrated food. You're going to probably want a couple of days worth of readily available food, just because you're going to want to have a chance to set up your camp, rest and recoup, and then get a plan in place for hunting, fishing, foraging. And ideally, you want to do that energized and not on an empty stomach. So I would have some dehydrated meals in your go bag. All right, some foam pad. This is just one of those luxuries that, it's lightweight, it's compact, it's not going to take up a lot of space, and you might really appreciate it. So you can pad a rock, a log to sit on. Maybe in the event that you're hunting and you have time and you need to get into a kneeling position, maybe you pad your knees. We're not getting any younger, right? Got to protect those knees. Water filters. So hydration is going to be number one importance. And the last thing you want in the backcountry is a GI infection. So making sure that your water is filtered and clean is going to be a huge priority. So it comes with a compact, lightweight water bottle. It's not going to take up much space. And the great thing about it is I can hook it to my bag. Okay, and this is one of those that you fill, you hang from a tree or a rock or whatever you've got at your disposal. And then it will drain through the tube and through the filter into your water bottle. There's also a strap in there in this bag so that I can hang my water bag. Okay. You're probably not going to have access to medical treatment, so make sure you are drinking purified water. Even glacial water. There's viruses and bacteria in glacier water that's been frozen for eons that our systems have never encountered and have no way of knowing how to fight. So even filter glacier water. I've been having mic issues, so that's why I keep checking my mic. 550 paracord. I mean, you can make a game bag out of it. You can hang a clothesline. You're going to have to wash your clothes by hand now. Maybe it's to help secure your structure or tie down a tarp. You could even use it as a tourniquet or to mend things. I have a little collapsible stove here to cook on, and it comes with fuel. So you just open it up, and then these little things you can light on fire, and you can cook on top of it. I have another stove that I will show you. It's bigger. I'm not sure which one I'm going to like the most. That's why I'm doing this trial run here in a couple of weeks to see what I want and like, and whichever one I decide I don't want in my bag, I'll probably throw the other one in my kid's bag. Emergency poncho. Staying dry is key, and the weather changes here often, especially in the mountains. You're bound to have some rain or precipitation, and you got to stay dry. Okay. Wild sardines. So I actually do like sardines, and like I mentioned before, you're going to want to have some food that's readily available until you can get that plan in place to hunt or fish. Plus, sardines are packed full of micronutrients and nutrition, and they're full of energy, which you're going to need if you're hiking all day and having to do a lot of manual labor. Silverware. So fork, spoon. It's even got a corkscrew, a knife. I love these little multi-tools, especially because they can compress down, and these just slide out, and then it's even got more tools inside of it. Okay. Life straw. So maybe I am in a hurry to get to where I need to get. Don't have the time to filter water because, as many of us know that are in the backcountry a lot, those can be a bit of a process. They can take some time. So I can drink directly out of a stream or a lake with this. It is just that. It is a straw. A saw. So I need to cut firewood. I need to build more of a permanent structure. I got to saw off an arm. uh, we've all seen 127 hours, am I right? Um, you just never know what you may need to do in a survival situation. And then also for hunting. So, you can quarter your animal with the saw. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it would be better than not having it. I have this mesh bag. Okay, and then I have this solar charger. What I am finding out that I do need is charge cords that are specific to my devices in this bag. So I can plug it in. And what you'll do with this is you'll put this in your mesh bag and you can attach it to your backpack while you're hiking and it will charge as you're going. But even still, I could put this in this mesh bag. I could hang it somewhere and it can be charging. Okay. My kids' solar chargers look like this. They're a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. I may end up going a different route just because, if you can cut down weight, do it. Okay, so it has all of these variety of charging ports. It has a flashlight, and you can also plug in some external cords there as well. Okay. Okay, I have this survival kit in a hard case. I may do away with the hard case, but who knows? In an extended situation where you're going to be gone for a long time, you might need a hard case for something. I don't know. So that's something I need to think about and consider. I could pull everything out of this and use it for something. Maybe to keep ammo dry, maybe to bury food. I don't know. Another emergency blanket. Do you have some fishing line and a lure? So I could, put together a homemade fishing pole in the backcountry. Carabiners, those always come in handy. I've got a flint and steel fire starter, and these are almost always multi-tools too. They have other little things on it. So I could use this to start a fire. I've got a flashlight. No, there are no batteries in it, which I do need to put batteries in this bag. I don't think there's any in it. You don't want to store the batteries in the devices themselves, as it can shorten the duration of your battery. They do kind of tend to just pull energy as they're sitting and waiting. So I would store your batteries separately and then put them in once you need to start using it. Some more carabiners, another flint and steel starter, a wire saw. Okay, so a little more compact and lightweight. And then I've got this bracelet with some more of that paracord. It has a compass on it, and then right there is a whistle. And take it apart, it's got a tool on it as well. And then you can actually open that right there and potentially store something in there. Maybe you have to conceal something. I don't know. Maybe you have medication. I don't know what the situation would be, but hey, it's handy and it's there. This is a pen and it's also a weapon. This sucker's heavy and it's sharp. So yes, you could use it as a weapon. I think you could even break out glass with it. You know, anything can be a weapon. You just gotta be creative, and you have to get in that mindset. And then another knife, and it does have another tool here and here. Okay. I don't think you could ever have too many knives. You know, maybe you lose one, maybe it's dull. Maybe you need to conceal one on your person as a backup. Who knows? Okay. All right. So there is that. Socks. So currently in my go bag, I have these kinds of socks. These are actually tall compression socks. And like I said, you may want to change these out seasonally. So as we get into colder months, I might want to think about maybe some thicker merino wool or just wool socks. Why I went with compression socks for now is because they help the circulation in your legs, and you know, they help with recovery. And so if you're on your feet doing a lot of manual labor, the last thing you're going to want is sore legs. Now, the other reason I have compression socks in here is quite a few years ago, I got a bone bruise on my shin. It was one of the most painful things I'd ever gone through in my life. I had a lot of blood pooling and swelling in my lower leg. And, you know, I probably was at risk of, oh gosh, it just left me. If I think of the term, I'll come back and say it. But anyway, I lived in compression socks while that injury was healing, 24/7. The moment I took these off, my leg would just throb. So it helped with the pain, it helped with the recovery. And you know, if you do need to keep something tight, you could potentially use this, you know, over a bandage, and keep things tight and clean and compressed down. Compartment syndrome. That's what I was thinking of. So there is a lot of risk for that, with injuries, especially broken bones, and you know, those could potentially help with that. So we get to the front pockets here. I have a lantern that's also solar powered, and you would just blow it up and it'll expand. And again, I could put this in that mesh bag and strap it to my bag, and it can be charging while I'm hiking. I've got a glow stick safety light. I mean, you don't know what situation you might be faced with where that could come in handy. These are little tiny washcloths. They're biodegradable, they're reusable. And what you do is you just would pull one out and you get it wet and it expands. And, you know, obviously you could use it for whatever you'd need a washcloth for. Maybe you got to clean a wound. Maybe you use it for personal hygiene. Maybe you clean your dishes. You know, maybe you use it for when you've got to use go to the bathroom. Okay, so some personal hygiene. This is a bit of a luxury item for me. So these are toothpicks. I'm frequently known for having a toothpick in my mouth, and I love the cinnamon hot licks. So you know, something I like and maybe can keep my morale up. But B, I don't have toothpaste or toothbrush in here. So this could be a part of my oral hygiene care while I'm out in the backwoods. Here we have needles. Just never know when you might need a needle. Maybe you've got to patch your shelter or some clothes. Maybe you have to sew up a wound. Okay. Handy little tool to have. What else do I have here? Okay, so this is a sewing kit. So there is some thread and needles in here, in a nice little container. Notebook and another emergency blanket. Your notebook, I don't know, maybe you journal in it. Maybe you keep track of the days. Maybe there's something you need to keep track of time. An injury, an illness. I mean, maybe you need to document that kind of stuff. Maybe we're in some sort of World War III Red Dawn situation and you've got to take notes about the enemy. I mean, I don't know what the circumstances are. Maybe you're an artist and you draw, and it's one way to just keep your mental health in check. Okay. I think that is all for my bag. So I need some charge cords that are specific to my devices. I need batteries for my devices, and I do need some more dehydrated food. So like I said, I'm going to be doing a trial run here in a couple weeks, which is why I'm kind of taking some inventory. And since this isn't a life or death situation, I'm not going to be hunting. I won't be fishing. I'm not going to break the laws for the sake of experimentation. In the event that it's an actual survival situation, obviously my survival is more important than, potentially poaching an animal. So, as budget allows, my plan is to outfit the bags, all three of the bags, with a collapsible 22 and collapsible fishing poles. Something that is unique to me in my home is that I do have firearms. I'm not going to disclose their location, security, safety purposes. I know where they're at. My kids know where some of them are at. And, those can be ready to grab and go as we need to flee. You'll want to practice this with your household. So your household needs to know where all of these things are. Your household is going to need to know their responsibilities. So maybe one person grabs the walkie-talkies. So I do have walkie-talkies here that are always charging. Communication may be essential, and we may not have access to cell phones. You may be in a remote area where there's no cell reception, or you may need to be concealing your location. And so perhaps this is a safer way to communicate with your household. And then I do the CB radio as well, more or less for information. I probably won't do any communicating on this. It would be very situational in that circumstance, but it might be handy for me to know what is going on around. So I do that there, and these items are always here ready to go. My office is primarily where I have everything. Like I mentioned earlier, I am constantly getting into the backcountry, even in the winter. So I have day packs in my entryway that are almost always ready to go. Like I said this morning, I think it took me 5 minutes to get out the door and go for my hike because my pack was virtually ready to go. So that would be something to think about. I can grab my go bag, and as I'm walking out the door, I can grab my other day pack. Here in my office, I also have my backpacking bags. Again, they're almost always ready to go, aside from maybe extra clothes. There may be rain jackets, beanies, things like that. But sleeping pads are usually in there. Tents are usually in there. Bear spray is usually in my bags. I've got lots of bear spray, and it's almost always attached to my bags, ready to go. Bug spray. There's always bug spray in my bags, and then I actually have extra on the shelves, and I'll show you here in a minute. And then sleeping bags. You know, in the off season, I do tend to pull them out and have them expanded in a bag so they don't get compressed down. But right now, it being peak camping, backpacking season, um, they're pretty well compressed down, ready to go. And it would be super easy for me to grab this that's ready to go and grab my backpack, throw a rifle under my arm, get out the door in less than 5 minutes. And as I'm hiking up, I can strap my sleeping bag to this um, and go. And then, you know, if your vehicle is equipped and ready to go, it might be something where you can, once you get up to your location, you might have the opportunity to hike back down the next day and get what's in your car. Again, everything's going to be situational. But, you know, if you don't, if you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail, right? So, some other things that I do have here that I'm probably going to start putting in each of these bags. And like I said, I'm going to potentially put together a secondary bag, and this will have more unique things that would be pretty dire situations, like potassium iodide. Okay, so where that comes in handy is radiation exposure, you know, nuclear fallout, nuclear explosion, power plant, whatever. You can protect yourself by taking those potassium iodide tabs. Like I said before, you know, you might need to keep morale up. Deck of cards might come in handy. Who knows how long you're going to be gone. Okay, these are little fuel cans. So you can put in like a jet boil or under a little cook stove, and then you just pull the lid, light it on fire. And oftentimes you get multiple uses out of them. So if you're needing to cook up something, boil some water fast, these are handy. So these are going in all the bags. Flashlights, like I said, I need to get some batteries. Headlamp. This is actually my headlamp. I do need to get some batteries. And then I have a beanie as well that's got a headlamp built into it. And you can just pull it out, and I could plug it in to here and charge it. So that is handy. You know, I wouldn't need batteries. I could potentially just keep charging it for as long as it is functioning and working. This, I believe, is a rain fly for your bag. Yeah, so this actually belongs in my backpacking bag. But what you do is you just pull it out and you can cover your whole bag. So if you're moving along and you reach inclement weather, you know, you want to keep your stuff dry. A lighter, I am going to throw a lighter into all the bags. Again, maybe it's a time sensitive situation and I don't want to wait to use my flint and steel with some dried pine needles or whatever the case may be. So lighters are going, I mean, they're light, they're small, they're compact, super handy. Some more nightsticks. This is the other stove that I have, and it's collapsible. It's a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. However, it does have a grate on it. So I catch a fish or I shoot a duck, I could throw the meat on here and cook it. But it is a bit bigger and heavier. And there is, you know, a little middle section here. And then you would just either start a fire underneath, or maybe you use one of your little fuel cans, you know, and then you've got a way to cook. Okay. I've got another whistle and a cuff key. So I don't know, maybe you end up in a hostage situation and you're cuffed But if you have this concealed on your person somewhere, maybe it will grant you an opportunity for escape. Who knows what the situation will be, right? Also, if there is time, I have some books here, and maybe you grab these. Maybe you stash them away for later, but they may come in handy. So, survival medicine, edible wild plants. I think this is specific to my region. Another edible plants book. This is a book on how Indians used plants for everything. And then I do have this Prepper's Survival Bible. So like I said, maybe you have time. Who knows? But they're there and they could come in handy. Again, you know, your household should have their own specific role and responsibility. And they should know where everything is at, and you should practice this. Because here's what happens when your adrenaline goes up. You know, you're in a heightened state of awareness. You tend to kind of lose your brain and fine motor skills. So you want to have these things practiced under safe, in controlled circumstances, so they become routine. You develop that muscle memory, and if everyone knows their specific role, what they're to grab, then you know once you've gone and left that nothing has been forgotten or left. So I will show you my office. Like I said, the majority of everything is in here. I do have some stuff that, you know, maybe there's time, maybe I have that luxury I can grab in my entryway. But yeah, I'll show you my stuff in here. Something to consider too is if you have pets, what you're going to do in the event that you have to leave your pets. One thing I am looking into doing is getting bulk freeze-dried chicken and beef. Okay, so it's going to give you your essentials, so your proteins and your fats. Those are essential to your survival. Carbohydrates are not. You know, you have essential fats, you have essential proteins. So those two things would be crucial to have. They're lightweight, easy to pack. You can feed your pets and you could feed yourself with it. So you could boil some water and throw in some freeze-dried chicken or beef, and you've got a hot meal. Okay. So think about that with your pets in that event and what you would do. Obviously, I would bring mine, you know, as time allows. Also in here, I have my skis. I have snowshoes. So seasonally dependent. Maybe I grab my skis and my snowshoe. All right. I will go over my kids' bags here in a minute, but let me first show you my office, and then we'll go through one of my kids' bags. Okay, so this is my office. It is a little messy right now because I am kind of going through inventory and stock. Those are those books I was telling you about. Just some extra supplies. I've got containers full of extra supplies that I do need to go through. Flashlights, knives, carabiners. Here's a lantern. These are battery operated. This is what it looks like. Okay, so these may end up in go bags. They aren't super heavy. So there's my Viking laws. Be prepared. Keep the camp in order. All right, so there's Bullet, being a good girl. So I have a stool here. Again, like I said, I have kids, and they may need it to get to their go bags. Go bags are stored up here. So that's one of my kids' go bags. I store them there. I've got extra sleeping pads, sleeping bags, and then here's our backpacks. Mine's a Gregory. I love it. Like I said, it's pretty well ready to go. Tent, sleeping pads. I think there's a first aid kit in there. I'm sure there's dehydrated food in there. These are my kids' bags. This one apparently is not ready to go. This one is ready to go, sleeping pad. I think that there is a tent in there. This is my backpacking chair. Obviously an emergency, I won't think about it. This is a sleeping bag. Sleeping bag. So this is how I store them in the off season. I usually the stuff stacks are usually in there too. So I guess in an emergency, I could just grab this, deal with stuffing it later. Another sleeping bag. It's kind of depleted. I need to restock, but bear spray, bug spray. Here's another kind of backup bag. This is also where I do all my eBay stuff, so it's kind of cluttered with my eBay stuff. But anyway, we're going to go through. Okay, something else to consider with your go bag is ease of access. So there may be things you want to be able to access from your bag on the fly, and you don't want to have to take the time to stop to completely dismantle your bag to find it. So knowing where everything is at is important. So practicing with your bag is important. And knowing what sort of things you might need on the fly. Food, rain fly, your life straw, a knife, bug spray, bear spray, whatever the case may be. Think about that as you pack and store your bag. You also want to think about weight, and comfortability. So if you've really got to put some miles in and quickly, you don't want to be hauling a lot of gear. Okay. So just things to think about, especially, factoring your location, where you're planning on going. That's something else your household should know, where you're going to go. And obviously that should probably be a discreet location that only the immediate people in that circle know about, because you may be in a situation where you have to get to that location separately. Maybe my kids are with their dad, and it's just very situational, but maybe we end up having to meet there. Then maybe there's not time to wait and meet up and go together. Okay. So things to think about. Real quick. This is one of the first aid kits that are usually in my car. And it would be really simple for me to strap this to this bag if I needed to. Okay. It has like a moldable brace, for broken bones, gauze, tape, gloves, super glue, and tourniquet. I don't know that there's blood clot in this one, but my other one does have blood clot in it. And scissors. And again, this is all stuff you're going to want to inventory, because adhesive stuff over time does lose its stickiness. Things have expiration dates, and you're going to want to have functional gear. Okay. So whatever system that looks like for you, maybe every 6 months you just go through and upgrade everything. I don't know, whatever works for you. Okay. My kids' bag. I went with wolf packs for them. I do like these backpacks. I think they're durable. I happened to find 2 that were on sale because they are pricey, but I love all the pockets. There's just multiple pockets. You can shove a lot of crap in here, and they're pretty comfortable too. So what do my kids have? Headlamp, batteries, fire starter. They also have that multi-tool pen. So there's that pen, multi-tool. It can be used as a weapon. They also have a life straw. They have hand warmers and toe warmers. and their own personal first aid kit. Again, like I said, you might be in a situation where you are separated, and so they need to have their own gear. You can't rely on, sharing equipment, because, no situation is ever perfect, right? They have a little lantern, their solar charger. Okay. We went through that one. Their base layers. Okay, so they've got some long underwear and socks. And one thing I probably ought to put in here is underwear. And maybe even just some real thin, tight beanies. My kids love these astronaut vanilla ice cream sandwiches. Again, you might have to keep morale up. So obviously, if you're using this bag in a situation, then circumstances probably aren't great. And having a treat just might be what you need to get through that day. Okay. Beef stroganoff. We love our beef stroganoff. We always take that backpacking. We're going to get to this in a minute. Let me make sure my mic is still on. I'm having issues with my mic. Okay. Glow sticks, some toe warmers. They also have their own bracelet, and again, it's the same style. So it's got a tool, it's got a whistle, it has a compass. And again, you may need to take this apart and use that 550 paracord. I believe this is a water bottle holder. Regardless, it could come in handy for something. Just don't know. Okay, so that's what's great about this bag. So there's these other pockets. There's even this pocket right here. Okay, so fire starter, another compass. I mean, I don't know, maybe you lose one, maybe you break one. You've got a backup. A Ziploc bag. Again, you just don't know where this might come in handy. Maybe you have to store food. Maybe you need to keep something dry. Maybe you need to keep everything. Maybe you need to keep something that's wet and keep everything around it dry. There is another compass and a multi-tool. This is a waterproof bag, so maybe we have a water crossing and we need to keep devices dry. Okay. An adult poncho. Well, this is one size fits all. My kids are getting older now, so they're about as tall as I am. Another emergency shelter. It's always good to have backups. You never know. You might lose one, break one, rip one. Things wear out over time too. So, all right, we will go through this. Again, my kids' bags are, I basically bought duplicates of everything. There might be different colors. And obviously their clothes are a little bit different. Let's see. Some paracord. Q-tips. I mean, there's 101 uses for Q-tips, right? They could even use as fire starter. Got a whistle here. Rescue emergency blanket. Maybe somebody gets hurt and is going into shock. You can use that to keep them warm. This is a triangular bandage. Shoulder injuries, or maybe you need to keep something braced up. I'm about to lose everything. All right, so here we have a tool, the multi-tool. So we've got a hammer, we've got an axe, we have a variety of tools here: saw, screwdriver, knife. Okay. And then you can squeeze this down and remove that. And now you have some pliers. Okay, so okay, here we have a collapsible shovel. Okay, you just screw that on, and now you have a shovel. And look, another compass. If we don't know what direction we're going, we're in trouble because we got plenty of compasses. I would suggest a map as well of the region you're planning to go to. And knowing how to read a map. Okay. You know, GPS could fail. You might not have reception to pull up a map on your phone. Gloves. Some rope, fishing lures, and fishing line. Some carabiners. More fire starter, another carabiner. They also have a wire saw. Check and make sure this mic is on. Okay, good. We are in business. So silverware, knife, can opener. Okay, this is another pocket knife. Should always have knives. I don't think you could have too many, really. More Q-tips. And now, especially for my kids' bags, I'm going to be leaving. There's like these little instructional pamphlets. I'll be leaving those in there for my kids so that they know how to use everything. So this is a multi-tool. Okay. Let's see what it's actually called. A saber card. 11-in-1 survival tool. Works as can opener, bottle cap opener, screwdriver, knife edge, saw blade, ruler, etc. Okay, so that's that. Then here's another multi-tool. It's inside this little leather case. And it actually has a little directional key on it. So I'll leave that in there. Again, that way my kids know how to use these, what all it could be used for. Again, you don't know. You may get separated. So that's what's in my kids' bags. All right. So I would love to know what sort of things you have in your go bags, what kind of go bags you have. My sister and her family live in a city, so they actually have urban go bags, things that would be more beneficial in a city and hopefully to eventually get them out of the city. And there are different things that you need to think about, like water. You might need a specific key to open water spigots. Just think about that in your region, your location, and where you're going. So I think I've covered it all. Anyway, please stay tuned because I'm going to video my practice run, and I'll throw it up on YouTube and maybe have more insight into the kinds of things I want or don't want, and just see how well I do going in the woods with bare minimum. Especially now it's getting colder. I could be faced with snow. I could be faced with rain, high winds. See how it goes. So I do have some things I need to get. But anyway, like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and also luxury items. What kind of luxury items would you want? I did have a friend one time suggest a mini Bible, and I thought that was a great idea. So if your faith is something that's important to you, consider bringing those kind of religious texts as well. All right, take care.